So it's draft season, and our new defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, just did an interview talking about things he like in players, different traits, his scheme. He talking that talk. Y'all check him out.
What you're trying to do is find some of the traits that a player has that's similar to that. You may not, find every 230-pound safety that can hit like a truck, but there are going to be some that have really good, physicality qualities to them. You may not find, a corner who's got 33s and has, crazy good ball skills, like Sherm. But what you can find is like how important ball skills are for corners, the ability to stop and plant. And that's like one of the things that made Richard so great. Recall, like how smart he is. I can clearly remember, like, we were playing Carolina in the first year I was there, and the team had played Carolina when I wasn't there the year before. And he just, leaned over and said, "Hey, against this formation, this route is coming." And I went back, to the previous season to look. Sure enough, he was right. And they had played him like middle of the year, so it wasn't like the last game and he remembered it, to start the season. But like a player who has that kind of recall, those are traits of like smart and recall, like that are hard to, they don't necessarily show up on tape or in a measurable, but they have unique stuff to them.
What's good, people? It's your boy, Mr. Rome, Cowboys Fan Talk, right back like I never left. Listen, if you're new to the channel, man, I appreciate all the support. If you've been rocking with me for a minute, I appreciate the support too, man. And look, I know it's the off season and videos are coming out in different time frames and everything like that. So what I wanted to do was ask anybody that's been rocking with me, man, make sure you got the notifications turned on. It really, really helps me out when I drop content that y'all guys know is coming out. If you're new here and you rock with the video, man, subscribe, turn on the notifications, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to grow this channel and all the little stuff, it's really appreciated. It definitely counts. It definitely helps out. So with that being said, man, today what I want to talk about is the recent interview that our new defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, did. And in the interview, he had a couple of topics that he touched on that really sparked my interest and had me thinking about basically what direction this defense is going in, what he's learned from being a head coach, and how he can implement that going into the defense. And I was really impressed with some of his answers. It really made me feel good about where we're headed. It didn't sound like a bunch of fluff. He sounded like he was keeping it 100, and I like that. So I'm going to play a couple of the clips. I'm going to give you my opinions on it, and we're going to rock it like that.
Like, what's your first order of business? What are you looking to do, and what's the first thing you're going to do to turn that thing around?
Well, I think any team that you want to be a part of, number one, it's like make sure you got yourself an identity, whether it's offensively, defensively on teams. And so I think each year is different, because people you add to the team. So I think number one, just making sure that identity defensively, of the physicality, the speed, the relentless effort, those are things that you want always everybody to see us when we're playing. So that's a number one, top of the pile for sure. That, create that identity that when everybody sees us play, you know exactly what you're going to get.
So hearing that, basically just saying that he is actually not going to do like Mike McCarthy did last year and say, I watched all the Dallas games, I evaluated all the players, and basically just lie to Jerry's face. I really feel like he's going to come in being a recently exiled coach, getting fired mid-season. Hearing how he broke down that explanation, I feel like he's really going to come in and analyze what he has. Because right now, Dan Quinn, if you've had a taste of being a head coach, you want to be a head coach again. So he wants to put his best foot forward. So he's going to definitely come in trying to break down what does he have and how can he implement it into what he needs going forward. Really looking at all of the players so he can know, okay, free agency is coming up. What are some of the best free agents that we can attack? Who can we get on the free agent market? And then going from there to the draft and filling out what young pieces he can add to his defense that they can implement as quickly as possible that can make this defense click. He's not looking at a 3 to 4 year plan. He wants to put the right pieces in place to move forward for next year.
So think of like players first over the scheme part of it. And,
right.
There'll be certainly, guidelines that you want to fit guys into, but more than anything, what do you have, and how to feature guys, will drive a little bit of how you can play. But that's, to me, the top of the pile. So scheme wise, everybody has enough defense and flexibility to last for a while. It's about how to put guys in the best spots, and also having guys who can play significant roles of doing, certain things really, really well. So that's what I'm looking for.
Then he touched on basically not focusing more so scheme over everything. And that's where Mike Nolan went wrong. Mike Nolan was kind of like, we're going to implement my scheme, hella high water. This is what we're going to do. And hearing Quinn basically come out and say, look, scheme is important. You want to know where you need to be. But it's not more so forcing players to play into my scheme, making D-Law lift his hand up and instead of coming, putting his hand in the dirt, or, forcing players to play in a 3-4 when they're accustomed to a 4-3. It's more so finding ways to put your players in the best place possible. Like, hearing him say that, I got so excited because it's just like, that's what we be preaching. Put your players in the places they can win at. If what you implementing isn't working, finding ways to implement things that's going to make them win. Like, okay, this two-gap technique, this hand-up thing is not working. What works for you? What is D-Law's specialties? Let's lean into that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really like to hear that he's coming in with a flexible mindset. I want to find ways to make this defense function the best way it can. Not, this is my scheme, players need to get with it or get lost. Like, that didn't work, obviously. Then the interviewer asked him a question. Listen, what are you going to do with this defense with all the changes that have happened since the last time you were a successful defensive coordinator? Do you think that you could just run the same scheme and then just listen?
Yeah.
How much has the scheme evolved since those original Legion of Boom days? And how much of it has been like a direct response to this arms race of the Kyle Shanahans and the Sean McVays of this world that have just been lighting things on fire throughout the NFL the last few years?
Well, a lot has changed. I think early on there was, when you play a scheme quite a bit, there'll be, one or two things that can, give it some trouble, finding where, maybe the weakness of a certain coverage is. And then here comes another one, and here comes another one. And so pretty soon there's a number of things that can, get you into trouble if you're not careful. So the tweaks that had to happen, like oftentimes people say, well, that's, the version of 3 and the way you teach it in training camp is good. And then you get into the season and game planning, and that's when the smallest tweaks would come about to defend certain routes or certain people or formations.
That's exactly what I want to hear. This is a different NFL than it was when the Legion of Boom was running. It's not that he's not a successful defensive coordinator before he got the head coaching job. It's that he needs to know that although what I was doing back then was working amazingly and we had the most ferocious defense in the league, it's 2021. Things have changed. Offensive concepts have changed. There's so much more motion. It's a different league. And hearing him say that he knows it's a different league, he knows that a lot of tweaks have to happen, it's like he was reading my mind, knowing that all that fluff that you hear, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and as my boy Big Game James has been saying, we'll see. Listen, I don't want to hear just talk this year. Hearing him say, I have to make tweaks, I have made tweaks, is music to my ears, because things have to change in your scheme, in your ideology, or nothing we talking about is going to work, and him analyzing his pieces, trying to say, okay, I got 7 out of the 11 pieces. I need 4, 5 pieces, new pieces to make this thing really click. That's what I want to be going on. Like, that's so important.
When head coaches go back to being coordinators after their head coach job, the narrative tends to be that, now they get a chance to focus back in on their side of the ball and really just go back to the thing that they were great at without all the other distractions involved. But I'm curious, what have you learned from being a head coach that you think will actually make you a better coordinator going forward? Is there anything you've taken from the extra
I don't know if we have enough time to go through it. Honestly, it was, like I said, I got let go. So I wanted to make sure I was going to apply the lessons, because otherwise, some of the mistakes that you made, you want to say, okay, how is this going to help on the next spot? And so for me, I definitely had that to say, sometimes as a head coach, you can feel like you want to take on too much. Here you can help, here you can help, here. And really, at the end, make sure you do the things much like a player does. Here's the things I know I can help impact the team the most.
That's what I want to hear. Because you know what? Whenever you hire a previous head coach as a coordinator or any position on a team, the first thing us as fans do is say, yo, he used to be a head coach, so his knowledge game is through the roof. True. He has learned a lot, But I like to hear him saying, basically, yo, I was humble, and I learned a couple things because me getting fired mid-season humbled me. And I got to go back to the drawing board. That hunger I had when I was the defensive coordinator for Seattle that got me that head coaching job, I got to revisit that hunger. To have a successful defense this year, we got to build from ground up. We have to attack this thing smart and strategically, and knowing that he can't just rely on, I was the leader of the Legion of Boom, because ain't nobody trying to hear that. We got to create our own identity, as he used in his words, going forward. It puts me in a good space going into the way I'm going to analyze some of these players. As it's draft season. It's all draft talk. That's all we talking about. So I like that interview, man. I like that. I had to share with y'all. And let me know what y'all think in the comments about what he was talking about. All right? It's your boy, Mr. Rome.